911 emergency.
Yes, my husband is not breathing.
Okay, is he there with you at 8150, apartment 204?
Yes, he is. He's in the bed. It's cold.
Poisoned husband, a staged death scene, and a beautiful woman being sentenced to prison for life. It may be returning to a San Diego courtroom.
This is an incredibly unexpected and heartbreaking case, as Gregory De Villers left a shadow of mistrust and mystery behind, generating rumors and unsolved questions. What happened to Gregory De Villers? Who killed him? And why was an overdosed poisonous drug found in his system? Well, stay tuned as we examine the incidents that set off a chain reaction of skepticism and despair, transforming a tale of love into a tragedy veiled in uncertainty. This is Solved Files, where crime stories are brought to your doorstep. What are you waiting for? Just hit the subscribe button for more fascinating and suspense-filled crime stories. Now, let's get back into this story and uncover this mystery. Now, before we unravel this mystery, let's go back to the very beginning, where it all started, the early life of Kristen. Kristen Rossum spent her childhood between the states of California and Virginia. She was born in Tennessee, United States of America, on October 25, 1975. Kristen's life was influenced in various unexpected ways by the numerous events she had while growing up. While Kristen was still a young woman, she encountered difficulties and temptations that were typical of adolescence. As a result of her father's traveling career, she shared her home with her two brothers and resided in several different cities. Nevertheless, when she enrolled in a boarding school for girls only, her life took a massive turn for the worse. It was in this location that Kristen first started engaging in defiant activities, such as drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, which marked the beginning of a chaotic time in her developmental years. Now that we have that out of the way, let's unveil how Kristen Rossum's life took an unexpected turn and the events that brought her to the center of one of the most talked about cases in recent years. The unexpected turn of Kristen. Although Kristen Rossum had several encounters with fate during her life, none of them were more crucial than the one she had with Gregory De Villers. During her time in San Diego in 1995, Kristen's life significantly turned when she became acquainted with Gregory. They appeared to have come into contact with one another at a critical juncture, which brought with it the prospect of a prosperous future. In 1999, Kristen and Gregory decided to take the big step and tie the knot after 4 years of getting to know one another and developing a relationship. However, their love story, which appeared to be a story of hope and rebirth, would soon develop into a terrible tangle of events that would flip their lives upside down and shock the surrounding community. The fate of Kristen and Gregory. Following her marriage to Gregory De Villers, Kristen Rossum embarked on a professional career that led to a significant change in the trajectory of her life. When Kristen received her degree from San Diego State University in 1998, she decided to pursue a career in toxicology. She worked in the medical examiner's office in San Diego because she had a strong interest in science and a strong desire to make a difference in the world. As a result of her education, Kristen could put her abilities to good use by conducting investigations into instances that frequently involved the use of drugs, poisons, and other harmful agents. Kristen has shown an extraordinary level of dedication to her role as a toxicologist, despite the difficulties and responsibilities that come with her job. Her determination to provide answers that are accurate and based on scientific evidence has helped shed light on several complex cases, and she has earned the respect of the forensic community. Despite early challenges, it seemed that Kristen had successfully turned her life around and was enjoying a positive trajectory. But however, not everything ends with a happy ending. On the other hand, Kristen will soon be confronted by a struggle that is even more difficult than she had ever imagined. An unexpected phone call shook the tranquility of Kristen and Gregory's home in San Diego, California, on November 6, 2000. This call would forever alter their life path from that point on. Kristen Rossum contacted 911 in a panicked manner at 9:22 in the morning, even though her voice was shaky and her heart was filled with grief.
911 emergency.
Yes, my husband is not breathing.
Okay, is he there with you at 8150, apartment 204?
Yes, he is. He's in the bed. It's cold.
As Kristen informed the operator that her beloved husband, Gregory De Villers, was not breathing, the phone line became filled with a sense of hopelessness.
Okay, try to get him off the bed and onto the floor right now, okay? And I'll work with you, okay?
Oh, God. I'm trying. He's on the floor.
Now listen to me, okay? I want you to put your ear next to his mouth and see if you can feel or hear any breathing, or if you can see his chest rise, do that now.
No.
He's not breathing? Okay, I'm going to tell you how to give mouth to mouth, okay? And we're going to do this until help comes and takes over, okay?
When the emergency medical services and law enforcement personnel arrived, they were confronted with a horrible image. There was no movement on Gregory's bed. He was simply lifeless. As Kristen struggled frantically to maintain her composure and confront the awful reality in front of her, the atmosphere in the room was filled with a sense of dread and uncertainty. Even though the investigation was beginning to uncover the specifics of that terrible evening, the truth behind Gregory De Villers' passing remained mysterious. The investigation of Gregory's death. Since the beginning, the facts surrounding his death have been unclear and hazy, leading to different opinions and controversial assumptions. The picture of Gregory, dead on his bed, surrounded by shredded diary pages and rose petals, stoked the curiosity of people who wanted to know the truth about what transpired that fatal night. What happened to Gregory De Villers? Who killed him, and for what reason? The discovery that fentanyl was present in his bloodstream further complicated the case by raising concerns about how this potent opioid drug got into his body and whether it was given to him on purpose or by accident. The circumstances of Gregory De Villers' death appeared to be coming to light more and more, but the real reason for his passing seemed to be cloaked in secrecy and mystery. In the difficult circumstances surrounding Gregory De Villers' demise, suspicion has also grown toward his wife, toxicologist Kristen Rossum. However, questions concerning Kristen's role in the catastrophe that transpired that fateful night have been raised by the appearance of evidence suggesting she may have used drugs and the possibility of an extramarital affair. When it was discovered that Gregory had a deadly amount of fentanyl, a potent synthetic opioid, in his system, concerns of an overdose ensued. This raised the question: how did the substance end up in his body, and does Kristen have a role in its administration? Furthermore, Kristen's sexual connection with a colleague was revealed, which severely damaged her reputation. This relationship sparked questions about Kristen's intentions and conjectured about why she might have been involved in Gregory's death. With Kristen in the center of a whirlwind of controversy and uncertainty, the case develops into a complicated web of intrigue, betrayal, and suspicion as events transpire. One of the most sinister things to come out of the crime scene during the unrest of Gregory De Villers' investigation was the rose petals that were all over his lifeless body. This macabre touch suggested a dark and enigmatic aspect of symbolism, lending the tragic scenario an air of twisted romance. The placement of rose petals, including a wedding picture, and the rumpled diary pages have all sparked speculation on the significance of these seemingly little details. There have been conjectures that the rose petals might have symbolized a burial rite or a last act of misguided love. On the other hand, some have proposed that their placement might have been intentional to mimic a suicide. The discovery of an adulterous affair by Gregory's wife, Kristen Rossum, and the presence of hazardous chemicals in his system were two other graphic aspects that, in addition to the rose petals, contributed to the crime scene's unsettling mood. These components have added to the picture's complexity and stimulated theories on Gregory's death's potential causes. As the investigations continued, several ominous hints suggested that his wife, Kristen Rossum, might have been involved in the sad incident. The presence of the highly potent synthetic opioid fentanyl in Gregory's bloodstream was one of the primary indicators that sparked concerns. Given that Kristen was a toxicologist and had access to this material for work, concerns have been raised over her potential role in the delivery of this deadly medication. In addition, the revelation of Kristen's extramarital romance complicated the case further and raised questions about potential motivations for her purported illegal behavior. Gregory may have been eliminated because of an adulterous affair and a fear of being discovered. Rose petals strewn all over Gregory's body at the crime scene and other incriminating evidence strengthened the case that Kristen may have been involved in her husband's death. The horrific picture that emerged from the investigation was assisted by how the scene was set and the illuminating information that surfaced. This picture pointed toward Kristen's guilt. The terrible death of Gregory De Villers has caused the community to be rattled. As a result, there is a great deal of pressure to identify the person responsible for this enigmatic mystery. The emphasis of the investigation rapidly shifted to his wife, Kristen Rossum. With the evidence appearing to go in her direction resoundingly, Kristen was charged with first-degree murder, a severe crime that carries the possibility of a life sentence. Kristen Rossum as the prime suspect. Nevertheless, investigators contended that Kristen possessed the tools, the incentive, and the chance to kill Gregory. Her job as a toxicologist would have given her access to deadly drugs, like the fentanyl discovered in Gregory's body. Kristen was thrown into a vicious cycle of agony and hopelessness as she frantically attempted to defend herself against these grave accusations following the first-degree murder indictment. The world watched anxiously to see if the truth about Gregory's killing would eventually come to light as the trial drew near and evidence was shown in court, hanging Kristen's destiny in the balance of justice. Following the first-degree murder allegations against Kristen Rossum, a courtroom drama including a complex web of evidence and testimony, suspense, and passion unfolded during the trial. But Kristen's defense made a valiant effort to refute the allegations, offering several justifications and refutations for their client's innocence. One of the main grounds of contention for the defense team was that rather than being supported by hard proof, the evidence against Kristen was based on conjecture and speculation. They emphasized that there was insufficient evidence to establish a clear connection between Kristen and her husband's death, and that the mere fact that fentanyl was found in Gregory's system did not establish Kristen's guilt. In addition, the defense cast doubt on the circumstances surrounding Gregory's death, speculating that it might have been a suicide or an accident. Without Kristen's direct involvement, they proposed that her extramarital affair might have sparked a marital crisis that ultimately resulted in Gregory's death. Additionally, the defense cast doubt on the integrity of the prosecution's evidence by highlighting discrepancies in witness testimony and the lack of tangible or scientific proof of Kristen's culpability. Kristen's defense team highlighted her right to a fair trial and her assumption of innocence until proven guilty throughout the trial, emphasizing that guilt must be established beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury would have to determine whether Kristen was guilty or innocent of the first-degree murder accusations, despite the defense's best efforts. The verdict. The verdict was announced after a jury trial that kept the public guessing. After being convicted of first-degree murder, Kristen Rossum was given a life sentence without the chance of release.
She was convicted and sentenced to life without parole.
This phrase signaled the terrible conclusion to a scene that rocked the neighborhood and destroyed a great deal of lives. But Kristen's legal battle did not result in a guilty decision. To contest the verdict of the jury and bring attention to purported flaws in the trial, she and her legal team have filed many appeal attempts. Meanwhile, the appeals brought up various points, such as inconsistencies in the prosecution's evidence, potential meddling in the evidence's chain of custody, and purported abuses of Kristen's constitutional rights during the trial. The defense contended that there were many uncertainties regarding the reliability of the evidence connecting Kristen to the crime, and that she had not been given a fair trial. They said that Kristen's guilt had not been established beyond a reasonable doubt, and that her presumption of innocence had not been upheld. However, despite the defense's best efforts, the appeals process still needed to produce the intended outcome. The courts denied the appeals, preserving Kristen's life sentence and conviction. This decision put an end to Kristen Rossum's protracted legal battle, but left many issues concerning the circumstances of Gregory De Villers' death unsolved. As the friends and family of both protagonists attempt to make sense of this tragic event, a sense of confusion and desperation endures. The case of Kristen Rossum will always be remembered by those who followed her carefully as a gripping tale of love, betrayal, and justice that will arouse conflicting feelings and debate. Numerous mistakes in the court system and fresh information that surfaced throughout appeals tainted Kristen Rossum's case and raised more questions about her conviction. Also, numerous procedural inaccuracies and omissions that surfaced during the initial trial cast doubt on the legitimacy of the verdict. The evidence's chain of custody has come under scrutiny due to claims of lack of openness and potential sample tampering. Furthermore, a few crucial witnesses gave inconsistent or untrustworthy testimony, casting doubt on the quality of the prosecution's evidence. Kristen's defense team introduced fresh information during the appeals process that should have been considered during the initial trial. This evidence included more testimony, more thorough forensic examinations, and findings from scientific experts who questioned the prosecution's interpretation of the evidence. Specifically, further details regarding the existence of fentanyl in Gregory's system have surfaced, prompting inquiries into its origin and the circumstances surrounding his demise. Inconsistencies in medical records and mistakes in toxicology testing have also been found, which has increased skepticism over Kristen's guilt. Concerns regarding the impartiality of the legal proceedings were also raised during the initial trial due to conflicts of interest and purported infringement of Kristen's constitutional rights. Nevertheless, the defense's arguments and the introduction of this fresh evidence did not significantly alter the sentencing decision due to the appeals. The legal system upheld its first ruling, keeping Kristen behind bars and casting doubt on the circumstances surrounding Gregory De Villers' death. While fresh evidence or testimony may one day surface that may eventually reveal the hidden truth behind this complex court case, there is still a sense of irritation and unfairness around the ongoing hunt for the truth. Gregory De Villers' passing has left his family grieving and filled with many unanswered questions. It has also deeply upset them. The news of Gregory's unexpected and unexplained death shocked and grieved his parents, family, and friends. Finding the truth regarding Gregory's death has turned into a personal goal for the De Villers family. They pressured the authorities to conduct an exhaustive inquiry and guarantee that their beloved brother and son receive justice. Their pursuit of justice has taken on a new dimension due to the alleged anomalies in the trial and the newly discovered evidence throughout the appeals process. They persisted in demanding answers to the unanswered questions and vehemently backed the necessity of a thorough case assessment. Meanwhile, individuals concerned have been permanently impacted by the legal ramifications of Gregory's passing. Gregory's family also filed a lawsuit against the appropriate authorities, charging them with carelessness for granting Kristen access to medications that would have resulted in Gregory's demise. They received sizable civil compensation after years of court fights, but money will never really make up for the loss of a loved one. The De Villers family's responses and the legal ramifications of Gregory's passing serve as more evidence of the terrible toll that such a horrible crime can take on all those connected. The hope that the truth will eventually come to light and provide solace and closure to those who have suffered so much is carried with the pursuit of justice and the truth as time goes on. The issue involving Kristen Rossum and Gregory Diller's death seems to have been resolved after years of inquiries, legal cases, and appeals. Yet, there are still unanswered doubts regarding the long-term ramifications. Many people found closure with Kristen's first-degree murder conviction, but there are still unanswered concerns regarding her guilt and the events that preceded Gregory's death. However, people attempting to comprehend the reality behind this tragic occurrence still need clarification on the chain of evidence, contradictory testimony, and purported anomalies in the trial. To guarantee the validity of the evidence produced in court, stricter quality standards and more stringent evidence custody procedures are required, as the case has raised questions regarding the security and integrity of forensic laboratories. The case also brought to light the intricacy of interpersonal connections and the terrible outcomes that can result from drug misuse, despair, and a lack of emotional support. It also emphasized the transience of human existence and the necessity of candidly discussing the problems associated with addiction and mental health. Individuals engaged in the case have experienced long-lasting effects in their lives. For Gregory's family, it symbolized an unending fight for justice and excruciating suffering. It signaled the end of Christine's freedom and the start of a new existence behind bars. The death of Gregory De Villers and the Kristen Rossum case have had a lasting impact on both the community and legal history. Put another way, the pursuit of justice and the quest for the truth continue to lead individuals impacted by this sad incident, and they do so with the hope that the truth will eventually come to light. What do you think about this case? Is Kristen really innocent? Or is it just a cover-up to prove her innocence? Was Gregory drugged and poisoned by Kristen? Let us know in the comment section below. Check out our previous video, The Saddest Heartbreaking Case.